Good morning, everybody. This is Meg at Chasing Retro, and I wanted to come on and show you the 80s journal that I made to keep for myself for journaling my childhood memories of growing up in the 80s. A couple of you had asked me if I was going to do that, and normally I don't really like to do a flip through of my personal journals, especially because, you know, as soon as I finish one, sometimes I'll start writing in it. And I've got a lot of personal photos and information in them, but this time I don't have any of that added yet. I do have a couple of pieces that I am going to add that have my info on them, but I have put a little post-it note over that so I can show those to you. But I knew when I started planning this one that I was going to make for myself, and let me say that I started planning making this since early 2021. Like, as soon as I started making one for my best friend, I realized, you know what, I have to make one for myself too. There's just too many things I want to write down to remember, just to look at myself, but also for my kids and grandkids to read and know more about me and what it was like growing up in that decade. So mine is a chunk. It may be the largest journal I've ever made. Other than I made one about cats for my cats that I've had throughout my life. That was it was a very small one, 5 inch by 5, I think, but it was, like 6 signatures. That's probably the biggest journal I've ever made. This one is a close second. This one is a little more oversized. This was made out of a family-sized Cheerio box. I kept the depth of the box, but I shortened the height a little bit because it was a little too big and too crazy. So I'll show it to you now. I hope that it gives you some inspiration and more ideas of how you can add to an 80s journal that you're making, and maybe even things that you can go look for in your, historically held vault of memorabilia that you can pull out, maybe put the originals in your journal, or make a copy or a scan and print and put those in your journal just so you can have those for posterity. All right, let me grab it. I told you she was a big one. This is 4 signatures. This one has gotten really bent, and I don't know why. I think I've just stuffed it too full, and my pages are starting to bow a little bit. The whole journal itself is bowing, so I think I've made this journal at capacity, or beyond capacity, I should say. This is not vintage fabric. This is fabric that I found at Dollar Tree, believe it or not, back earlier this year. I'm going to see if I can raise this up a little more. And I just love that the rainbows have coral instead of red, because coral is one of my favorite colors. So I kind of ran with that for the colors on the other things on the front. Just like all of the other journals that I made, this one has a strand, multi-strand bead tassel that's attached with a paper clip that can come off. These were so fun to make. I could make these all day long. There's one of my Barbie brushes that I used to play with. And of course, one of the little bike spoke noise makers. Let me show you all this tassel, charm tassel, because I'm gonna have to take it off to lay the book flat. This one is basically, I wanted it to hold everything that I've been holding for this journal. So this is the only remaining charm I have from my charm chain necklace that I had as a kid. You know, the ones that we all had. Many of you held on to yours. If you look to see what they're selling for now, it's crazy. Even just a charm is like $8. I do realize that I forgot to add a bell to this, so I'll need to go back and add that. But it's just a little clown with a little head that moves back and forth. And as you can see, I actually remember doing this. I got a pair of pliers and I tried to remove this loop at one point because I wanted to hang this on the wall in my dollhouse. I am so glad that I was not successful in pulling the loop off, because it's what's helping me hang it on this. This is a glitter-filled heart, just like the other ones that I did. A little holographic charm, a butterfly, a glass with stars, a little heart, and this is one of my Barbie fake food, little canned food items from my Barbie kitchen. Here's a Monchichi charm. That's a Shrinky Dink. This purse is actually from Dollar Tree. This is not authentic Barbie. This is one of my Barbie rollerblades. Ghostbusters. So one of my friends growing up had Ghostbusters. I was not really allowed to watch movies that were above G, really. And she had this movie and she got it on VHS, and her parents were both working, so after school sometimes I'd ride my bike over to her house and we would watch Ghostbusters. We probably watched it 2 or 3 times a week for a year. I'm serious, y'all. And it really did become one of my favorite movies. As I've gotten older and I watch it now, I'm like, oh my word, I'm so glad so much of this went over my head. But I don't know, I have this affinity for this movie, and it's a big part of my childhood, so I put it on here. And then this is a little Barbie boombox. I don't think this was mine. This might have been either my sister's or my cousin's. My cousin gave me all of her Barbie stuff for my daughter several years ago. This is, let's see if I can make it light up. Yeah, I was sent this in Happy Mail like 2 years ago from someone, and I held it for this purpose to add to this journal. This is a Barbie boot that's from my collection. This is actually from a Skipper doll that I have. It's a portfolio that opens, and I think it was art class Skipper or something like that. Little art. You know those clipboards, the whole papers. Let's see. Here's Poochie. This is one of the ones that messed up pretty bad. Like I don't know, some of the alcohol markers do not react very well with the baking, so I kept the ones that were kind of iffy and gave the other nicer ones to y'all. This is a Rainbow Bright that I messed up as well. I painted the back of her with, I think, color pencils, but then I forgot which side I had painted on, and I painted the white on the front, so I kept that one. This is one of the little pink hats like the other journals. Oh, this is some French fries from my Barbie stuff, and I don't think they're meant for Barbie. They're big in scale, but my husband put a little screw eye in there for it to be a charm. This is one of my Barbie roller skates. I don't think this is Barbie brand. This is like one of the knockoff brands. A little rainbow made of a Shrinky Dink. And this, I actually got this when I was in Atlanta a couple weeks ago at a Japanese store in the mall. I wanted something with water on my charm, and this was just perfect. It's not Sanrio, but it's Sanrio-like. And let's see. Oh, this. I found this at my craft reuse store. It's not, is it Karapi? It's not him, but it looks like him. So I grabbed that. I think that's it. Very noisy. I might cough and sniffle a little today. My daughter has a cold and I'm fighting it off, so. All right, so this is a page from a Rainbow Bright book, and I put it on some peach grid paper and then some faux leather that's holographic. This is one of the sequin tool bows that I made. And then I found that jar or bag of puffy stars, hearts, and crowns that I showed y'all. And I used all of those in all the journals, but I used the stars. I covered up the little starbursts that were on the image with these. I actually used hot glue for all these and gluing everything down, which normally I use Fabri-Tac or 3-in-1. I really like the hot glue, and I'm gonna start doing that more often. This one has 4 signatures. Each thread is a different color. And it has a bow that is non-removable. It's ombre glitter from Hobby Lobby. I am glad that I used this bow on mine and none of the others that I sold, because number one, it is very difficult to tie. It's very stiff and it does not lay very pretty. And number two, every time you untie it and tie it, glitter goes everywhere. So I usually give myself the things that are like mistakes. And this was no exception. I like glitter, but this was a little much. Okay. This is basically the same thing, plus a few more extra things that are not in the other journals that I've just been literally putting in a box for 5 years to make into ephemera for this journal. This is one of the items. This is actually a photocopy of a picture of a Hawaiian Barbie and her friends, which I think she came out in like 1988 or something like that. And I had her. I thought she was so beautiful. I didn't want Barbie, I wanted her. And I think my parents actually gave me Ken as well. And then Cabbage Patch tag, a little note sheet, Care Bears card, strawberry playing card, and a little cluster with a piece of that dust ruffle. Over here, I just did a little 3-layered heart with a yo-yo. And this is decoupage tissue paper right here. I have a My Little Pony magazine image and a Barbie trading card. I had Day and Night Barbie, and I had her little office as well. I loved that thing. This is just a journaling card. It might be Project Life, I don't know. A Barbie dust ruffle tag, and this is a scan and print. Okay, so when I say scan and print, a lot of the things in this journal are not available, not able to be sold commercially because they have copyrights on them. But as far as I know, if most of the time, if you print them for your own journal, for your own use, not to be sold, not to be done with anything other than for your own self, I think you can make copies of certain things. You have to read the fine print. But this was a late 1970s strawberry book that I didn't, the image was too big, so I basically scanned it and shrunk it down so it fit on a card. So there'll be a few more things like that in here. And if you're working on an 80s journal for yourself, you have a little more flexibility in that realm, especially for things that you really can't find or don't want to pay for, that are for sale ephemera-wise online. This is an image from a book, Rose Petal Place book. This is some of that stationery, the Muppet stationery that I was sent in Happy Mail. This is an actual piece of ephemera from my very first adopted Cabbage Patch Kid. Well, it came in the box with her. Her name was Maxine Danica. She was born on October 1st. I got her in 1986, I believe. Yes, I think that was the Christmas that everything was crazy, and my grandma gave her to me for Christmas, and I remember like my mom and me both just like, Grandma, how did you get this doll? I mean, there were people fighting over these, and my grandma just casually was like, I just went into a store and she was on the shelf and I bought her. So she was evidently either, my grandma was either magic or she was at the right place at the right time. But I thought that was fun to include. And I've held on to that in my childhood keepsake box, of course. This is the front of a Babysitter's Club book. I read all of these until I sort of outgrew the theme. I had to have the newest one the week they came out. This is another scan of that book. The image on the other page came from. This is just the back cover, and I just printed it on copy paper. And this is from the JCPenney catalog. I did not have one of these watches, but I thought they were so cute. And if I had known about them, I would have asked for one. This is an idea that I've always wanted to try, and my journal was like the guinea pig. So now that I know how to do this, I'm going to do this more often. This is a zipper pouch from Dollar Tree, and it's one of their holographic ones from this back to school season. I cut the edge off where all the little rings were, the ring holes were for the binders. I cut that off, making sure to keep the actual pouch closed. I didn't cut into the pouch. Then I sewed on with zigzag stitch some very flexible fabric, and I hinged it to a file folder piece about the same size on the other side, and you'll see that. So you can, as long as it's not too wide for your journal, you can most certainly add things like this to your journals to make them more interactive. This was sent to me in Happy Meal. I'm pretty sure this is Korean. It's just a little, it's probably a phone charm, but I put it on the zipper. In here, there are some stickers. There's some gift wrap scraps left over from the packs that I put together. This is a scan of one of my favorite books as a kid. It came with a record. My dad and I used to love to, the record had a big hole, so he would offset the record just a little bit and make it sound really warped and funny, and we would just sit and listen and laugh. So I wanted to remember that. And this is from a book that my mom had as a kid that she used to read to me. It was a book of bedtime stories. I don't remember the name of it, but it had this story about a little pine tree who was very dissatisfied with being a pine tree. He didn't like his needles. He wished he had beautiful leaves, and so his wish was granted, but of course lots of bad things happened, like all of his leaves fell off, and there was a big storm and all his leaves blew off, and animals came by and ate his leaves and all that. So it was a story about how to be happy with the way God made you, including my red hair, which I did not like at the time. This is just a little piece of confetti. Someone sent this in Happy Mail. I stapled it on the edge of this Kool-Aid dye pull out. Here's a sewing pattern girl. This is from the JCPenney catalog. This is a Shirt Tails bedspread. On this fabric tab, I have a little Hello Kitty, I guess it's a charm. I ordered these from Temu, and I was going to use these on all the journals, but I think Sanrio does not allow commercial use of their items. So I just put these on mine and gave the rest to my daughter for her jewelry fun. This is that same little tape, faux tape unraveling journaling card. And this is a hidden paper clip, which I have not made in ages, and I decided, you know what? Let's do it. Let's try it. I added stickles and hot pink puff paint, which didn't, it kind of bled, but the stickles are cute. And so I had to ask my engineer husband how to put a paper clip on if I wanted it to be at the top of a page but stick up out of the book, and he showed me how to cut a slit and then put it in that way. So now I know how to do it. Sometimes my brain just doesn't think in a non-linear way, and I have to have some help. Here is a journaling card with Care Bears and some rickrack. This is a scan of the front of the program from the Ringling Brothers Circus, which my parents took me to when I was 4. And Mickey Mouse stationery under there. This is one of my fodder stars that I've painted. This came out of I had this Wonderful World of Knowledge encyclopedia set. My grandma got it for me. It was one of those where you would buy one a week at the grocery store with a 99-cent purchase or something. And she saved up all the books all year, and I got them for Christmas. And this was one of the ads in it for if someone else wanted to order them as well after they were released. You could order them as a set. This is an open-ended coloring page. So my mom bought a lot of my clothes from JCPenney and Sears, and JCPenney had Sesame Street clothing, which I love Sesame Street, so she bought a lot of things from there. I don't think I had anything in this picture, but it just reminded me of stuff she would buy for me. And this was, we lived really close. We lived in a little town called Holly Springs for a while, which was a suburb of Durham. So I found this at a craft reuse store in Raleigh, actually, and I put it in here. This is just a little cutout from a Care Bears book. I've got some of these little labels. Home slice, of course, I never said that as a kid, but it's an 80s phrase, and I thought it was funny. This is a scan of the front of a record that I had. I don't remember if I saw the movie or TV show, but boy, did I play this record over and over. So I printed this on photo paper. I did not have these, but my cousins did. They had to go into Grandma and going to Grandpa's house suitcases, and so it just reminded me of them. When I was in the 4th or 5th grade, we had a jump rope competition from the American Heart Association, and I was in the competition, and I was one of the finalists, so I got a certificate, and this is a scan of the top of that. Now I don't even think I could jump rope 10 times. Some hot pink filler paper with a cluster. This is a school worksheet. This is not one of mine. This is just one of the ones I was given in Happy Meal. Some glittery ribbon here. A little tiny Teddy Ruxpin. I didn't have him, but my cousins had him. This is from the Little People Dictionary. I remember this elevator very well. Loved it. And the playground reminds me of the playgrounds at my school growing up. We had one like this, and also one of the ones that was like a circle on the ground. And we would wrap our arms around it like this, as tight as we could around the bar. And then we would tuck our knees in and sort of hold our knees with our arms and turn into just like a little, like a pill bug or a roly-poly. And then our friends would spin us around. We'd tuck our heads and they'd spin us. And we would come back from recess with these huge blood blisters on our arms, and our teachers would be horrified. So of course I need to write about that on this page. A cellophane ruffle. Fodder strawberry. This is one of the, this is a stamp from the 80s. It's like a re-release 80s culture stamp set. And this is The Cosby Show, which I used to watch. This is a outfit. So it was like a bride and groom paper doll set, and you could color their clothes. And I colored this when I was about 8 or 9. So I put that on there. A little cluster with fluorescent. An E.T. trading card. This is when Elliot first sees E.T. And this is us. Do you remember the Barbie Around the World series? My other grandmother gave me her. She was a Swiss Barbie, and I loved her. She had a velvet skirt and a velvet bodice. So I found a picture of her. And then this is, what is this Dream Date? Yes, Dream Date Barbie. I had her. I loved this. It was so couture. I just thought it was so cool that you could wrap this little thing around her shoulder. And this is a Goonies movie poster, which it was one of my favorite films, and we saw it every summer in the free movies. A little flip pad here, a Cabbage Patch Bank image, wallpaper. This is from the JCPenney catalog. A little image from Strawberry Shortcake. This is Raspberry Tart. And I did a little cluster with I think she's a Barbie in the rocker. I don't remember if it's Dana or Dee Dee. I think it's Dana. And then I used this fabric in all the journals. I only have like a little square left. It's like an iridescent oil slick lavender. And then a little ruffle here. A Shaker card. I chose this one to keep because she had red hair and there were kittens. My mom got me my first kitten when I was 5 because I was terrified of all animals with 4 legs, dogs and cats and anything else. And the rest is history. Now I love cats and dogs. A Teddy Ruxpin tag with some yarn. And someone sent this to me in Happy Meal, I think, or I might have found this at the reuse store. I don't remember. It is from 1986, and it's a happy birthday card that sits up. And here's some of that glitter tape that I made. Here's a few Barbie fashion. Let me show you the book these came from in case you want to get it. It's tiny. It's called Barbie. It's by Abbeville Press. Barbie in Fashion. And it goes all the way through the decades. If you're interested, I found it on Thrift Books. But I had Loving You. I think it's Loving You, Barbie. I had Barbie and the Rockers. And one of my favorites is Crystal Barbie. And I had Peaches and Cream too. She's not in this book, but I did save an image of her. I'll show you when I get to it. So this is from a Wilton catalog. My mom made me this cake when I was 4, and I had a friend party and a family party. And she made one pink and one blue. So I wanted to remember that. And this is just some teddy bear stationery. And this was actually the dance center where I took dance when we lived in Louisiana. We had our recital at the Leesville High School auditorium, and look how late it is. I feel like recitals don't go that far into the summer now. But after school was out, we practiced, like we were there 5 days a week for 2 weeks. Dance was very serious at this dance center. When I moved here, I remember thinking that it was not nearly as big of a deal as it was there. And this place still exists. I actually follow them on Instagram. But they taught the Giacchetti method of ballet, which if you have ballet history, you know what that is. So I actually, when we moved away, I was in the Giacchetti class. This is from a Barbie book. And this is from a Troll Associates craft book. And this is just an ad for Reeboks. And I'm serious. If these ever come back out again, I am buying the pink ones. I had some knockoffs that were magenta. They were not actual Reeboks, but I would love some. An 80s trivia card in this envelope. A little tag with some hair yarn. This is another scan from that Strawberry Shortcake book. And so many fond memories of going to Baskin Robbins. I loved, my favorite kind of ice cream as a kid was strawberry, but I began to love chocolate chip mint. And to this day, I don't think anybody makes it as good as they made it. It was perfect. If you guys know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Their chip mint was the best. And I put this little shimmery pink tab on top. Strawberry pocket with a tag, piece of Poochie paper, and another book image from, I keep wanting to say Herself the Elf. I didn't put anything of that in here. Rose Petal Place. I should have put Herself the Elf. Here is a clip of Grimace. This is another printable that's probably not commercial free. And I put stickles around him. Another non-commercial image of Rainbow Bright, and then this is one of the fabric cards like I made in the others. Iridescent ruffle here. This is just a printable that I found, a little clip art of the arcade. This is a Barbie and the Rockers coloring page that someone sent to me. Cluster, wrapping paper. Mine had some tape on it. I don't think any of the others did. Try a minute. I was a sickly little kid. I had a lot of colds, a lot of ear infections, a lot of tonsillitis. And so a lot of my memories of growing up involved being sick and taking medicine. And this was always the one my mom gave me, either this one or Dimetap when I had a cold, or croup. Do you guys remember these? It had the best flavor. This is from the Cabbage Patch pattern book. This is some 90s confetti that I found at a yard sale. And another Holly Hobby cake image. This is a little sticker someone sent in Happy Mail of one of those Play School phones. And this is Radical. There's a rainbow ribbon like the others had. This was just a throwaway page. I was just playing around with some pastels and stencils with white gesso. And I didn't think it turned out very good, but I liked the colors. So I put it in here. This is from a Care Bear cookbook. Here is a side pocket with a tag, Garfield stationery, and some of the gift wrap that Birdie from Feed the Birdies sent me this past week. She wrapped a book in it. I thought this was fun, a picture of Barbie, and it's like, whatever I decide to write here, she'll be looking at it. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. Karate Kid Part 2. I love all of them, but this is my favorite because it's set in Japan. And this is one of my favorite songs, Peter Cetera's Glory of Love. So I found this 45 record at an antique store in like 2019. And I, of course, what else am I going to do with it? I mean, I listened to the record, but it had the sleeve, and so I just saved it for this journal. And I put Starlight the horse on the back. Here's a yes and no quiz book page and Little Miss Trouble. And then I did a little cluster with some of that faux leather. This is similar to what the other journals had, just a little letter. Be kind, please rewind. Playing card and Precious Moments card. A card from Girl Talk, which I never had this game, but I had friends that did. My friend Valerie had it. A little gift enclosure that someone gave me. It looked like something that would have been at Upton's, which was my first job at the mall. I started out working in a restaurant, and then I went to a mall job. You probably didn't have Upton's unless you are from the Southeast, because I think they were headquartered in Atlanta. This is just a brushed page with acrylic. This is some Avon stationery that I found at an antique store in Columbia recently. This is a non-commercial use coloring page that I printed on hot pink paper, which is a fun twist. And then this is the mall directory that my husband made for me of a faux mall that we made up. And here are more of those puffy stars. This fabric tab has Kero Kero P, who used to be one of my favorites. I drew him and Pachaco, the dog, on all of my schoolwork and all of my notebooks. I would just sit in class and doodle these guys over and over. Here's a fabric pocket with a little heart, an Uno card, and a Long John Silver's card. Cellophane ruffle. This is some strawberry shortcake ribbon that's actually fabric. It's Christmas, but I put it in here anyway. And there he is. There's Peter Cetera. Here is just a little heart. I found this at Hobby Lobby years ago. A heart paper clip. This is a thank you card, a flash card. And I got this when I thought I might write about my first airplane ride, which was when I was, I think I was 9. We flew from Greenville, South Carolina to Houston, Texas. And then this, I think this came from this card box, if I'm not mistaken. Here's a peekaboo pocket with some clouds. If you guys are interested, I'll do a tutorial on how to make this. It's not that hard. It's really fun to do. Do you guys remember when you got your class pictures? Like the whole group. You had individuals too, but there was always a group picture. The portfolio that it came in, at least where I lived, always looked like this. So I scanned it and shrunk it down and made a little card. I made this a long time ago when I was just trying to learn how to use CV envelopes. So I thought I'd put it in here. And this is just another page from the book. This is a slide that I used a knife and cut the slide out of, and then I put it on a piece of cardstock with a sticker. This is not vintage. I bought this Hubba Bubba about 2 years ago, but I saved the wrapper in my 80s folder for this purpose, to make a cluster, because I loved bubble gum. I remember when I learned how to blow bubbles. I was jumping on the trampoline while my friend was trying to teach me how to blow bubbles. A tissue paper cluster. Here's another one of the Barbie paper doll outfits. Some rainbow ruffle and a rainbow fodder piece. My best friend sent me this Hello Kitty candy bar for my birthday 3 or 4 years ago, and I saved the wrapper, and I just glued it down to flip out. Here's a gift enclosure with little ballet bears. This came from that Troll Associates book, and a party invite with Care Bears. A tag here. Kmart, you guys, if you know me, you know that I love vintage retail, and I especially love Kmart. This is a scan from a Kmart ad from a newspaper from 1979 or 80, I think, that my grandma had in her cedar chest. And I thought it was beautiful, so I scanned it and made a card. Muppet Babies. My grandma loved the Northern Girls. I was actually sent a set of these by Tamara. Thank you, Tamara. And I have them framed in my room. I rotate them out for the season, but I wanted to make a card that reminded me of my grandma loving these little images. And she always bought Northern toilet paper. I still do to this day. And this one had really bad water damage on the magazine, but that's okay. I don't mind. I'll use it anyway. Another book page and a babysitter instruction. This is a birthday card that someone sent in Happy Mail. An index card and a holographic envelope with a quiz card. This is some trim that I found at a fabric warehouse sale not too long ago, and it matched the coral and the yellow matched the cover perfectly. Another fodder piece, journaling card, Ziggy cross stitch. This is a scan of one of the birthday cards that I received. Do you guys remember when you would open these cards and there'd be slots for quarters? So the inside of the pig had tons of quarters in it, which back then, you know, when you're 3 or 4, that's a lot of money. This reminds me of my grandma. I will never forget, we got here one time after our long trip here, and she wanted to show us that she had ordered some mood-changing lipstick from a catalog, and she wanted us to all try it, and we were all amazed that we put it on. I was about 12, and it was a different color on all of us. To me, that was the most magical thing in the world, so I wanted to remember that product. This is the Memphis print that I tried to make myself. Not the greatest. Teddy Ruxpin card. And, of course, Family Circus. And my grandma would give me lightning bug jars that were almost always a pickle jar. So, to this day, I associate the smell of pickles with lightning bugs. And so I had to put that in here. This is a piece of elastic for a belt, I think, and then here's little Pachaco. I may not be saying these names right. Richard Scarry image. This is a stamp with the Cats musical, which I love. I didn't see it till the 90s, but it came out in the 80s. This is some of my sticker tape. Okay, so I tried it, and yes, it happened. I sewed around this to seal the edges, and my needle got all gummed up, so I had to use Goo Gone, which is really, it's just petroleum based. It's just nasty, but I probably won't be doing that anymore. That was a lot of mess to clean up. So if you do sew on this tape, know that your sewing needle will get gummy. Gonzo used to be my favorite Muppet. He's not anymore, but I put him in here because he used to be. And it says totally. This is some tablecloth. This is a pattern someone sent to me. If I had known this existed, I would have begged my mom to make this for me back then. So cute. 1983. Yeah. I don't know if she knew that it existed either, but it is so adorable. I was strawberry shortcake for Halloween for 2 or 3 years in a row, but it was the packaged, pre-bought sets that you could get at Woolworths with the little like a smock with a little plastic mask. That's what I wore. I had Tinker Toys. I got them for Christmas when I turned 3. Here is a tag with hearts, a Big Bird card. This is from that crib sheet. And here's the image I was telling y'all about. One of my favorite Barbies that I had. I used to get Barbie Collector Magazine. I think that's what it was called. Or just Barbie Mag. No, it was definitely Barbie Collector Magazine when my kids were little. And I don't know how I got on the mailing list, but they stopped coming. Maybe I should sign up again, because I always enjoyed looking at them. And they'll re-release old ones like that sometimes. This is just some glitter sequin trim. This is from the musical Annie, and this is some wallpaper border. Clipped here, we have, I found this at my craft reuse store. It's a little tiger. And the elementary school where I went to for, let's see, 1st through 3rd grades, we were the Sedgefield Tigers, and it looks a lot like that. So I put that in here. And here's a Kmart image with the quote, peanut butter candy. It's like the little peanut butter balls. People still make these. And then a guest check with a sticker on it. There's a large pocket with a side opening, and then there's a Holly Hobby fabric card and an index card with lace. Some Barbie flannel sewn down. I think this might have been from a sheet. And then a bedtime bear with a little, another little red-headed girl. This is Lady Lovely Locks. This is a printable from Pinterest. And then some purple trim. These will always remind me of childhood, more specifically Grandma and Grandpa's house. So classic, yet so uncomfortable, but lightweight. And then here's a fabric tag with some chunky yarn, a sewing pattern girl, and this. I used to want to be an architect / maybe interior decorator, so one year for Christmas my parents got me a Crayola. I really should have looked up what it was actually called. It's like it had a set of templates of room shapes that you could choose from, and you would trace them, and then you could trace the furniture and the shape window that you wanted. Anyway, this is one of the rooms that I designed that I said was going to be my future bedroom, as if, but I scanned it and printed it. So that's just another example of what you can do with your childhood drawings or your children's childhood drawings as a way to keep them without messing them up. This is a little clipped on thing. These are just scans of actual board games that I have in the attic that I played with. I loved this game because I was a nerd. And then my aunt gave me this game. It was called Game of the States. And I actually learned a lot about states and their exports and crops and stuff I didn't know about from that game. Rose Petal Place, Sewing Girls again, another ET tag. The door is open today because it's only about 70 degrees, so the traffic noise is going to be a little loud. A Peanuts book image. Look how cute. They look like they're eating kicks. Babysitter's Club memo sheet with Babysitter's Club book pages and notepad. And then another sewing. Okay, so the front of this pattern, my mom found it at the craft reuse store and said that she had this pattern and she made me this little dress, and she actually did applique this bunny on it. I don't remember that, I was too small. But I said, well, of course now I have to buy this now. So I turned it into a journaling card. And there's a Woolworth thread sticker sewn on. My favorite Kool-Aid was grape, still is. Rolodex card and a playing card. My mom made me a shirt out of this fabric, so I thought a tag out of it was in order. It was a little halter top with sleeves that had like 3 straps instead of 1 on each shoulder. Cabbage Patch cereal. My mom did not really say no to sugary cereals for me, which is very different from the way my husband grew up. So if a new cereal came out, I usually wanted to try it and was able to. And I remember this one very well, although this is low sugar. So, and then another little cluster with the sequin waist and the side of a VHS box. I did not use this paper on anyone else's because it literally rains glitter everywhere. But if you like this, you can buy this at Hobby Lobby. It is like a thick blue cardstock with hexagon glitters glued down, loosely glued down. Here's a plastic tag with unicorns, a little postulette, 80s game sheet, and another cute little image from that same little prayer book. Little girl reading Bible stories in the bed, which is what I would have done. I also used to listen to Bible story, like dramatized Bible stories by a company called Your Story Hour. You can actually find them on YouTube. They're fully dramatized Bible studies and they're excellent. I mean, very well done. I grew up listening to those. I thought it was really fun to put him at the top like he's peeking over. I took piano lessons starting from when I was 5 until I was 16, and I started out playing with this brand of book, which was Alfred's. So I'll put that in here, and I remember learning this song called Raindrops. It was how to play staccato notes. Care Bears cookbook, grody to the max. My best friend and I said this all the time. I bet we drove our parents crazy. A little sticker portfolio. Another Barbie dress. This is Jewel Secrets Barbie, I think. I did not have her, but my friend did. I want to say that this part came off and it was a drawstring bag. I could be wrong though. This is Richard Scarry. Playing card. My homemade kitten poster, and New Kids on the Block. Honestly, I didn't really get into them. I don't know why, I just never did, but all my friends did, so I put it in here. This is a fabric flip, and I put this granny square on here with I made one of these little friendship pins. You can buy these non-curled or non-looped safety pins at Hoblob, and you can bend it out, put beads on it, and bend it back in. But my grandma and my mom had an Afghan made like this. So I had a McDonald's birthday party when I turned 6, so I wanted to remember the cake and all the fun that was had at McDonald's back in the day. I ate many Happy Meals. My Little Pony page. This is that Questron quiz book. that I found at a thrift store. And this, another idea for you guys. If you have kept some of your linens or clothing from your childhood or your children's, put them in the scanner. This is a dress that my mom made me for Easter when I was 5. And she had one that matched. So we went to church. Oh, my doll did too. So we all 3 went to church matching that Easter. This is the fabric she used, and I just laid it nicely on the scanner, scanned it and printed it and made a card out of it. So you'll see a couple more images like this too with other dresses that I had. This is a paper clip that I made with a scanned image of what the Nerds looked like when they first came out. And they were about this small. They weren't much bigger than this. I remember taking them to church. My parents got them for me on the way to church, and I ate them during church, and was probably a big distraction. It was an evening service, don't worry. I didn't eat candy in the morning. This is from Secret Diary Girl Talk. Again, I didn't have this game, but I had friends who did. And then a thank you card and an index card with those 80s embellishments on it. I was sent these strawberries in Happy Mail, and they didn't have a way to hang. So it was hard because there's a lot of glue in here and it's very stiff, but I used a needle and some pliers to run a piece of string through, and I made a loop so I could hang it. Here's a belly band with the strawberry shortcake sticker. This is that weird little modern art postcard that I found. Piano practice record, teacher note home, and another pattern cover. I think I had this dress as well. I wore it to my aunt's wedding. And my mom said that something in it made me break out, which now that I know how many allergies I have, I'm not surprised. It was probably what it was washed in, or maybe it hadn't been washed and it was the sizing, which I'm also allergic to. But she said she got home and took this off, and I was covered in hives head to foot. So not all of our memories are wonderful ones. A Barbie coloring book. I actually colored this Barbie. More sewing pattern, tracing paper. Okay, so at my school fall festival, we had that game where it was a big sheet in one of the classrooms, and they gave you a fishing pole, which was a string with a paper clip on it, and you threw it over the sheet. And my teacher, Mrs. Daniels, was on the other side, and she clipped on this book and record, which that was a really good prize back then, and every kid got something that nice. I don't know where the budget came from. I don't know if she bought these gifts or what, but I feel like now you don't get nearly that nice of an item in a fall festival game. But I turned the cover into a page, a piece of fodder. I did like this movie, but I didn't watch it until I was older. It is very cheesy, but it's just very 80s, so I had to include it. This is another Holly Hoppy cake. I didn't realize I had 3 in here. And here's that dress that made me break out. I'm pretty sure this is the one. It was like a dress with a pinafore. There's Barbie. Little mini tag, a Ziggy tag card, sorry. This is the back of one of those book and record book covers. And some Snoopy shelf liner. Muppets Take Manhattan. Do you guys remember these little Richard Scary bunnies that said, "Please read to me"? So I cut that off the corner of the book and glued it on. Tony the Tiger will always remind me of my grandpa, because he would always ask me what he said while I was eating Frosted Flakes at his house. And when I said, "They're great," he would always giggle. He thought it was funny to hear me say that. So that's a memory I can write about. There's the My Little Pony magazine. I found this quilting square at my reuse store a couple of years ago and held on to it. A calendar page. Oh, this is the month my sister was born. Month and year. So I wanted to save that. This is Sewing Girls again. Another, I think I have a tag in the front, so I have a card here. This is another one of my dresses. I had a portrait made in that dress. I remember sitting for it. I think I held on to one of my teddy bears. My dad was a photographer, just a hobby one. And so a lot of my portraits growing up were either made at Sears, which was, you know, relatively inexpensive and popular, Olin Mills for the nicer ones. And then my dad would set up a, like a backdrop at home. So this one I sat and I was at home and I was sitting in a little leather rocking chair that my grandma had, that I had. And it was a very old rocking chair. And we had one of those pole lights. So he turned the lights to aim against the wall in a very artistic way. And then took my picture with it, and it turned out great. I didn't even know it was not a studio portrait until my mom told me later. He also had his own dark room in our house, which I think was a bathroom, but it was cool. I thought my dad was super cool. Still do. This, I found all of this fabric at the reuse store, and my sister, when she was born, her nursery was primary colored, but when we moved into Army housing, when she was about 2, my mom redid her room and she got a day bed, and it was 100% 80s mauve and country blue, and I'm pretty sure she had the same fabric in her room, and I'd never seen this before, but it looked like something that would have been in her room. So I cut this out and decoupaged it, or appliqued it down onto this other fabric. While you were out, teddy bears. Lunchbox sticker, a little tape that I stapled. Here's some more character pans from Wilton. I made a big boo-boo when I smoothed down this paper, so I kept the ugly one. I'll put a picture or something on top of it, but it's really hard to get thin wrapping paper down smoothly when you're covering the back of something. Give me all your tips on this because I want to learn how to do it better. This was a Rainbow Bright scene that I was sent in Happy Mail. Another one of the dresses that I colored with markers. Little memo sheets. Growing up, my room was pink in one of our houses. When my sister was born, I had to move out of the room that became her nursery, and I got to move into a bonus room upstairs, which was like a, when I say attic, it was a finished attic, but the sides of the walls were slanted, and there was no bathroom on that level, so we only had one bathroom in that house. So I guess to sweeten the deal that I was getting kicked out of my room, my parents let me paint it any color pink I wanted, and it was about this color. So I wish I knew the exact name of the color, but I don't. So I wanted to remember that. And this is just a little flip pad. Popcorn bag, and we have some wallpaper border and My Little Pony card. Here's Kermie. Holographic tape. This came from Hobby Lobby, by the way, in case you were wondering. I don't think I said that before. It's with the duct tape, and it's a really tiny roll, so it's easy to miss. This is just a scrap of the tape that I wanted to include in case I wanted to use it. A journaling card. And this, when we traveled back and forth between states, we ate at a lot of restaurants, including diners and cafeterias, and this was one of my favorites. If you guys have been to Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, or Alabama, you have probably heard of this one, or maybe even been there. Let me know. It was one of my favorites. To this day, I have not had collard greens that were as good as Davis Brothers. I'm a big fan of collard greens, and I believe this is the Shoney's. We ate at Shoney's a lot too. I have a copycat recipe for the hot fudge cake. Yum. a little postulette. This is probably not from the 80s, but it is. 88. Kellogg Company. I guess it came free with some cereal. This is a scan of a growth chart that my mom had in my room. Yes, it is a giraffe. And I severely shrunk it down. As you can see, these are inches, and made a little card. This is a iron-on label that I found at a thrift store, but milk was a very big part of my childhood. I had to drink all of my milk before I could leave the table. And sometimes I would sit there for an hour and I'd end up having to drink lukewarm or warm milk because I was so stubborn. But I love milk now. I drink it all the time. So I think it worked, getting me to drink milk. And I have never broken a bone. This is Care Bears. And this is actually, this right here is actually my bed and my bedding, except mine was light blue instead of pink. When I exited crib, my mom and dad got me a double canopy bed and a light blue. It was probably quite a splurge back then, but it was definitely, yeah, here's a close-up. There's the blue. And it had these little ribbed sewn stripes on it. That's what my first bed was. Not long after that, we moved and I got the strawberry shortcake bedding. The really, really busy, detailed one, but I still love that light blue. Two little tags. A little cluster with the Walkman. My grandpa always had a Walkman. He used to listen to football games. This is not QR codes because obviously I kept all of the links in my saved files, but I just did a little notepad and some gift wrap made into a card. And then just like the other one, these are 4 more scans of birthday party invites or birthday cards that I received as a kid. My mom kept everything, so I wanted to remember these, so I scanned them and printed them. I should have printed them at a higher quality. They're not very vivid, but I can journal on the back of them about birthday parties. There's a little gizmo. I had this Cabbage Patch tray. I still have it. It's in the attic in my keepsake box. However, it looks like it's been run over by a transfer truck. I used it all the time. I ate cereal on it on Saturday mornings in front of the TV. Every time I was sick, my mom brought me my meals on it, and it is just dented and bent and almost folded in half. But those metal trays, man, they will last. Here's E.T. with the camera flash and Superman card and hobbies and tech. So I kept this because I love the movie Superman. Superman 2 is actually my favorite one, but in elementary school, I think it was in 2nd grade, we had a show and tell day, and I wanted to bring my dad for show and tell. And I remember my friends were like, "That's not a show and tell. That's dumb. That's your dad." And I was like, "Well, I want everyone to see my dad. I think he's super cool." And so my teacher allowed me to bring my dad for show and tell, and he told some stories. And after he left, this kid leaned over to me, and my dad used to have really dark, thick hair. And he leaned over to me and said, "Is your dad Superman?" And I just thought, well, to me he is, but it was just so funny. So to this day we joke about my dad being Superman. Birthday party invite, and vintage Epcot postcard, and that printed book about Christopher Bear. And that's it, guys. The only other thing in here is the fabric I found this week at the craft reuse store. I want to say, I found this probably 5 years ago before I even junk journaled. And I was going to make a pillow out of it, but then I decided not to. And I may one day in the future, but for now I decided the safest place that it could stay is folded up in here in case I ever decide to make one. But I had Care Bear growing up. That was the only Care Bear stuffed animal that I had. So it was quite cool that I found the pillow pattern. That took a long time. Y'all, this fell out. This was these little data clips for the computer printout paper. I just stuck it in here for fun. I'm interjecting this part. I realized this after I turned the camera off, but I had forgotten to show these things as well. This is just more inspiration on what you can save or add to your journals for your own use. This is just a smattering of things that either I found later and that reminded me of my childhood, or my mom saved. This is a sort of a, I guess it was like a summer reading program like they have now. And this is the cute little certificate that they gave me at the end. We lived in Wake Forest because my dad was in seminary at the time, and I couldn't read at age 4, so I guess it included books my parents read to me. I don't know. This is a report card with my favorite teacher of all teachers. We were in her class. A lot of things happened that year. She had a baby. The Challenger tragedy happened. We had a tornado that broke almost all the windows in our school. It was a very eventful year, and she was one of my favorite teachers. She prayed with us every day in a public school, which was, even back then, that was a little bit not heard of. She was amazing. So I wanted to keep this and write about her on the back. This was my first grade teacher, and I won the spelling bee for my grade and went to the school-wide spelling bee, which I did not win. I think I've said this before, but I misspelled the word gory. I put an E in it. But I was proud to at least get to the first hurdle. This is another back of a book and record. I backed it with file folder. This just wouldn't fit in the book, so I kind of set it aside because I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. This one either. This is the front of one of the records that I had. I have the full-size record, but this is the book and record, so I wanted to keep it as well. These are just ads that I found in magazines and cut out or tore out. I had one of these dolls, my child, and you could get them to look like your child. So mine had red hair, and my mom said she couldn't find green eyes, so she ended up having like violet eyes, which I thought was prettier than green. I loved her. I named her Meredith. But this, and then of course the basket on the bike. Oh, perfect, right? Look at that, Mom. And then of course Kool-Aid. Do you guys remember when he crashed through walls and stuff? I wish I had an ad with that picture, but I remember you could buy these pictures. We had the Kool-Aid Man cups growing up. My grandma had those at her house. This is Kid Sister. Do you guys remember my buddy of Kid Sister? I had Kid Sister. And this is my friend Mandy. Do you guys remember her? This is a scan and print. This is not an actual magazine page. But I had my friend Mandy. And she had other friends. And I had Baby Soft Sounds. Did y'all have her? I still have her. She's in the top of my closet. I saw her yesterday. She had a voice box, and when you moved her around, she would coo, and eventually she'll start crying. But I thought she was so cute. I wish I remember what I named her. I don't remember what I named her. And this is a scan and print of the front of a Strawberry Shortcake comic, which I've never been able to find. Maybe one day I will. And another one of the programs for the dance studio. This is right before we moved away. My dad was deployed in December of that year, so this was my last performance with them. But it was the whole thing was 1920s themed. It was very cool. So that's some ideas of what you can collect and add. Thanks, guys. Now for the rest of the video and the closing. But yeah, that took a long time, and I know it did, and it's probably because I interjected so many personal stories. So, gosh, an hour. Well, thank you for sticking with me if you're still here. That hour went by really fast. I am so glad to be done with these. It was a lot of fun to do, but I'm ready to switch gears and do something different. But thank you for joining me. I hope you guys like the flip through. I hope this gave you some ideas on 80s journals for yourself or your kids. And you guys have a wonderful day.